One possible way that things can go wrong, and one reason we need safeguards, is because of precedents. What are precedents? Well, let's contrast it with mistakes and abuses. Okay? When we talk about mistakes and abuses, the concern is that even if we keep the rules in place, and they're firmly there in place, they won't be fully enforced, either because of error or deliberately getting around them. Precedent is different. When we talk about precedent, the concern is that we will, in fact, go ahead and change the rules. We will intentionally drop the safeguards or allow things that we said we weren't going to allow. Okay, so an example of that might be allowing the government to collect massive amounts of data on its citizens. Right? So for the time, we might say, okay, let's say we have a rule. The government can only look at metadata. Well, here's the problem. We've already set the precedent for allowing this massive kind of spying on citizens. Right? So, how are we going to keep ourselves from saying, well, now that we do that, is it really that much different to let them look at the content of the emails? Okay? So the idea of precedent is when we start allowing things, right, it's very common that people will push for us to allow more. Okay? So if someone is concerned about Second Amendment rights, right, some people will say, look, certain forms of registration and tracking, right, sound good, right? But, right, once we start allowing that, people are going to push for greater and greater restrictions. Okay? So that's the idea behind precedent. Right? We say we're going to allow these practices and only these practices, but the question is, will we stick to it? Once we get used to allowing these things, will it then create a temptation to allow something else?